In Michael's latest books of essays, 1,000 Shards of Glass, There is Another America, he describes his country as the United States of salesmen and says that for over half a century, America has been a store disguised as a country. Welcome to the studio, Michael.
Thank you very much.
You share with Vidal a perverse form of patriotism, don't you? You are, in fact, both. You care a lot about your country.
I do, very much so, yes.
You would be both branded, well, he certainly was, as a sort of traitor to the cause.
I would. That's why I was so concerned I asked that the book not be released in the United States.
As you felt that strongly?
I did. And because I thought I would be very much vilified in my country for this book and labeled exactly what you said. And so I wanted first the book to be received by other parts of the world so the discussion could take place. As it has evolved, it's very clear to me that I thought I was writing this book for my fellow countrymen when in fact I was writing it as a cautionary tale to people like the people in Australia.
But there are so many Americans who would totally and utterly and wholeheartedly agree with your prognosis, with your hypothesis.
I think there would be.
Including media heavies. I think Jon Stewart, Colbert, they would both welcome you onto their program.
I think you're right, but I think they would ultimately be drowned out.
How did you happen? Where were you born?
I was born in Chicago, Illinois. I was very fortunate to be raised. My mother was dying as a small boy, and my father made me very hungry for the world because while she was terribly ill, I was a very frightened little boy. So my father would show me books of pyramids and other cultures and talk to me. And then he connected me with a local librarian in Chicago, who he must have told I was afraid. And I'll never forget, she came from behind her big desk, put her arm around me, and she said, every word in all of these books is a thread that will weave a magic carpet that will take you everywhere. And after you've traveled through all of their pages, you will find there are more kind and open hearts than there are monsters. And knowing that will make you less afraid.
When were you effectively radicalized? When did you suddenly see or begin to perceive that your country was heading in the wrong direction and was becoming the United States of salesmen?
I think it happened at a very young age. I had unusually some black friends in Chicago, and I saw how they were treated and pushed around, humiliated often. And one day I wake up and there's these fantastic looking people in black leather jackets holding clubs who were also black. And I noticed all of a sudden that the bullies who were always pushing these kids around still had difficulty or hatred in their hearts, but they didn't step across the line so quickly, knowing that there might be a consequence to them. And I saw union rallies, and I saw these kinds of things of people fighting for their rights, for equality. So I think from a young age, I discovered that you had to stand up and fight for things that were worthwhile. And my father inculcated that in me as well. I had a wonderful father, a remarkable father.
You're visiting a country where we're pretty agnostic. We have no capital punishment. We don't firebomb abortion clinics. But you live in a country which is absolutely obsessed with religion. But as you keep pointing out, it's a fraudulent religion.
Yes, it's fraudulent. I think there's a difference between searching for meaning and searching for God, and becoming politically involved in such a way because of your beliefs, where you will deny other people's rights, or you will hold such prejudices that create damage within the social fabric. I think most of the religions that I've come across in the United States are the latter. And it's very serious. There's a search for meaning, and then there is something else. I think most religions in the United States are something else. We
have a pretty good public health system, and we gaze across your at the ruinous state of the American health system, and are mind-boggled by the problems that Obama had setting up a somewhat, but not profoundly improved alternative. Yes. We just don't get it, and nor does anyone in Europe, nor does anyone, as you know, in the UK. Here are people who vote against their own self-interest again and again and again. Why are Americans so easily misled?
You know, that is a question I keep going. I'll just relate to you a story. I went to a town hall meeting with a congressman, and then the congressman was trying to explain to people there that what he was trying to do in Washington, and that he paid about $400 a month for health insurance because he was connected to the government that insured all of his family in every way. And he entertained comments from people in the audience. And a man came down to the audience. My wife was sitting next to me, who had a brain tumor. And this man spoke and got rather animated and said, now look, I don't want to help pay for people who have, quote, brain tumors or these things where they're not going to live long. And I don't want you to interfere with my insurance companies and my He went on and on. I followed this man out. I introduced myself because I wanted to understand. And it turned out he was a plumber. He had 2 children. He was a working man. He was paying $900 in insurance for health insurance. And I said to him, well, did you hear what the congressman said? And his response was, now look, I'm more than about money. I don't want gay people in government. He went from this discussion into an almost Fox News diatribe about so many other things. And I realized this person could not think rationally and stay on point. And it's hard to have sympathy then for your fellow citizens who are harming themselves from their lack of thinking and critical thinking.
Mind you, they're not getting a huge amount of help from their media. You have to, they're bombarded by pseudo-news like Fox News.
Yes. But you know, I find with these kinds of people who are engaged in these implacable ideologies, they can't get out of it. All it takes to focus their mind is one person in their family, a diagnosis of cancer or something else, and then they're put into the system they said they've been supporting and wanted as a good American, and they're brutalized by it, and all of a sudden there is clarity. The problem is the friends that they've had who shared their own views then begin to vilify them.
We are, by osmosis, starting to adopt aspects of the American system.
That's a terrible mistake.
And it won't take long until in our hospitals, patients will be called customers, as they are in yours.
Yes.
That gobsmacked you, didn't it, that discovery?
When they called my wife a customer, yes. And I had to correct them numerous times.
And you also detected, didn't you, with some of the apparatchiks who were running the system, that they were embarrassed by their role in it. This is a part of the problem.
Yes.
They were conscious that they were involved in a vast fraud.
Well, some of the people still had a modicum of decency that they knew and understood that what they were doing was Look, when you call someone's home days after someone has had major brain surgery and you keep saying, I'd like to speak to Dr. Harden, and you've explained on 3 previous occasions that she can't do basic math, let alone have a conversation on the phone. But they say, oh, we're very sorry about that, but she must pay this bill. And they keep trying to contact her. You can call that system many things. Empathetic or kind or just are not words that come to mind.
I'm going to read the dedication to Chris in the book because I find it deeply moving, and a question arises from it. For Chris, I've kept a lock of your hair and some of your dust as a talisman, protection from the memories like a siren songs that deceive and rust. You were my true north, my bearings, my home. But death, envious of our course, folded you into his silence, setting me adrift without she who was my map, my love. I bring what you are with me, to London and Rome, to the Greek lemon hills you love, and into the Ligurian Sea, where once amid the dancing stars we bathed. You are everywhere, my silent travelling companion. I want to ask you this. The fact that she's with you now, does that assuage or intensify your loneliness?
I would have to say most of the time intensifies it. There was a point I did not think I'd get over this, quite frankly. As a matter of fact, the last trip I made to Australia was 6 months after she had passed away. And I had made plans to, while here, to not proceed with my life and be far enough away from friends so they wouldn't be burdened. And only my publisher would be burdened with it here. But through a chance meeting of someone else right before I left, it allowed me to hold on a little longer till I could get a little bit more clear. But no, it intensifies it.
Comparatively recently, you've made the decision to live in France.
Yeah, some time ago, yes.
Why?
I would not be part of America. I mean, I'm from America, but I'm not of America. I was born there. That was not my choice. There's many other countries and people that I've come across in all my travels that I would have been much happier to have been part of. And that is not easy to say because I wish my country well. I don't wish my country well at any expense, but I wish my country well. But I'm not really of my country. What I'm seeing is extraordinary narcissism on a large scale in the United States. This illusion of control. We hold our phones and our devices and all this, and somehow we think we're connected to the world and that we're in charge. We're losing a lot of the poetry of living, the sweetness of life. And when you lose the sweetness of life and the poetry of living, it becomes, in my opinion, easier to vilify those people you want to dismiss and put aside. So if you don't have health insurance, for instance, you haven't worked hard enough. What's wrong with you?
The hatred of the poor in America
I think that's
is
very,
now being
very
echoed,
true.
at least at a political level, in this country. You are a failure. You are beneath contempt. It's your bloody fault.
Yeah, but you know, at the end of the day, a society will be judged by how it treats the people who are the most vulnerable. That is the tenet of most religions, certainly of Christianity. But I find it interesting that conservatives have appropriated this kind of religious moniker. And they make me see Jesus in a three-piece suit looking at his stock portfolio. It is a strange, strange picture they draw for me.
You mean Jesus didn't have a stock portfolio? That's why he went into the temple with the money lenders.
Yes.
He was going to update his portfolio. Michael, thank you very much. 1,000 Shards of Glass, published by Simon & Schuster. And you can hear Michael speak more about the Hemingway estate on Books and Arts Daily, Wednesday the 17th of September at 10 a.m.